Okay, so if you're watching this video, you probably got a problem with the BMW with the scrapey sound underneath the car. Sounds like it's coming from the middle of the car. It happened to me when the car was fully loaded when we were going on holiday. The car was a bit lower to the ground, and during any kind of acceleration, you could hear this underneath the car. Without it being heavily loaded, you can still hear it under like heavy acceleration when the back of the car squats down, either because there's stuff in the back that's heavy, pushes the car down, or when it's accelerating, it squats down a bit from the G-force or whatever. It's basically on top of the drive shaft or the prop shaft. On above there's like some handbrake lines, which are basically metal tubes, and they just sort of like touch the drive shaft or prop shaft, and that's what makes the scraping sound. So underneath the car, there's some plastic clips, and they basically fail over time. They get brittle, they snap off. So yeah, on my last few MOTs, the annual car check, the clips sort of were seen to be degraded and broken, and it put it as an advisory that it needs to be changed. And then I checked out what the price of that would be, and it was something like £1,200. The actual plastic part is only like £20, something like that. It's a relatively cheap part, but the labour is quite a lot because it's quite an involved job to replace the part, because it's sort of sandwiched in between. I think it's the chassis and the fuel tank. For some reason they decided to put it there. But what you can do is you can get a aftermarket part that doesn't replace it, it just clips over it. So you keep the original piece in place and you just put a metal piece over it, and then that holds the handbrake lines in place, and then they don't scrape on the prop shaft, and then it doesn't make the noise, and it'll basically be fixed forever. You can get aluminium billet milled pieces, which I think cost something like $120, but you can get the steel part much cheaper off eBay or Amazon, and I got it off AliExpress. I think when I bought it, there was either some sort of discount offer on, or I collected enough AliExpress coins to get a discount, but it cost me 76p, so that's 76 English pence, well, British pence. So not even £1, and that was with shipping, which was free. So yeah, for 76 pence, the labour was basically my time, and I had everything else on hand. Yeah, so I'm gonna step. I've not done a voiceover before, so you have to bear with me. I'm recording this separately, and I've prepared the video, so I'm gonna step through this. Right, so yeah, to start with, from underneath the car, you're gonna have to look above the prop shaft. Yeah, so further forward than where the rear wheels are, but in the middle. If you look up from the rear to one side of the center, and then try and look up in the middle, then you'll see where the brake lines go for the handbrake, and where they sort of come together is where there's a plastic clip supposed to be, and then you'll see like a nut, and then like a washer in there. What you're going to end up with is the same thing, but with you can see there's an addition of like a metal part over there, and that metal part that's the new sort of extra aftermarket bracket. Now, yeah, as I mentioned before, I got it from AliExpress. It's currently £1.74. Maybe that's how much it was when I bought it. Maybe with my discounts, it brought it down to 76 pence. But yeah, it's quite simple. It's just a stamped piece of steel of some description. Could be stainless, but it doesn't really matter. It could be galvanized. But yeah, it doesn't need to do much apart from just hold. It doesn't even need to hold the weight of them. It's just sort of like guiding them into staying in place. Some people use cable ties to like hold up the brake lines in different places, but this just clips over where it's supposed to be clipped anyway, so it looks really neat. This is the whole thing, and you just use the existing nut, take the nut off the existing one, put this on, and then put the nut back, and that's it. The actual installation of the part is easy, but getting to it and putting the nut on, preparing it, that's difficult. So yeah, simple and straightforward in concept of the installation, but yeah, as in with many things with cars, it's a bit of a fiddly one to get to. Okay, so yeah, just trying to sort of show you how, like, where it is, because it was quite hard for me to find out where was it, where is this bracket thing. So yes, this is coming from the rear left of the car. It's up on stands, jacked it up already, and yeah, when you come underneath the car, you want to look up sort of above the heat shield, and then you'll see the prop shaft, and then like just above there, then you'll be able to see where the handbrake lines come together, and then there's the nut and the washer thing, and that's what we want to get to. Yeah, when I was like, I've never jacked up my car before because I haven't had to like change a tyre. I've got the stock run flats on. I've never messed about with the tyres or brakes or anything else. So I did used to work on cars before, but just haven't needed to on this one. So I was wondering how to do it. I looked up a few videos online, and they said you need a low profile jack and you need like some special jack pads to go underneath the lifting points. And I just have it's quite low. It's quite a low, but it's not a specifically low profile hydraulic jack. It's just kind of like a standard trolley jack. So yeah, what I did was I just had like a plastic sort of cylinder thing just nearby that happened to be the same height as my jack. So I just sort of like put that underneath the car and just like sort of put it round in like different places, under the sills, and then under the sort of rear diffuser, and like going underneath the axles. And like I think the manual says, and like some of the guide says, it's like you want to jack up the rear of the car underneath the diff, and said not on the diff cover. And I was like, what is the diff cover? But the diff cover seems to be on the back of the diff, and the actual flat part of the diff that goes obviously to both rear axles is quite obvious. It's just a nice flat part underneath. So yeah, once I worked out that the jack could go underneath, then I was like, okay, what do I do about these jack pads? And I've used just like scrap wood before, just to go underneath the actual jack, and then for the axle stands to go onto the jack pad things on sort of towards the back of the sills. Yeah, I just used some more scrap wood. Just lifted the car. Luckily, my jack could like just lift enough to have space for the wood and the axle stand on the axle stand's like lowest setting. I actually had to lift the car a tiny bit on the right side to be able to like slide the wood in, like I don't know, like a millimeter or something. But yeah, then once it was up, it was fine. Yeah, so I used a scrap piece of wood on the jack, and that was sort of to protect the bottom of the diff casing, stop it being marked or dented or whatever by the top of the jack. And then like I slid it in, so this is like in front of the right hand side rear wheel at the back of the right rear door. This is like where I could like get the jack in, and then just basically the space between the wheel and the door, there's like, you can see that sort of space. That's the wiggle room that I had for the jack lever, the bit that you move up and down. Yeah, it was enough, but it was lots of very small pumps of the jack. So yeah, underneath the car, I just managed to move the jack into the center underneath the diff, and then lift the jack off with that like piece of wood on the flat part of the diff, and the little sort of scraps of wood for the axle stands on the jack points. They worked well. I put those lengthways across that plastic sort of jack pad. They didn't fit inside, they just like rested on top. You can see on the sort of side view the wood sort of like deformed a bit from the weight of the car. That's good. That's what I sort of expected to happen, and that's happening, and it's not sort of trying to crush the plastic bit. Yeah, afterwards you can see like this is how much it sort of like deformed the wood and like dented into there. So that's good. that it was sort of sacrificial wood. Yeah, so underneath the car, some of these guides said that you had to lower the exhaust, you had to take off like some sort of like brace, and then you'd have to like take off the heat shield and then lower the fuel tank. And a lot of those things are if you wanted to replace the part that's broken with either the OEM plastic part, which is rubbish and would fail again. So if you wanted to do that again, you'd probably have to do it in another few years. Some people will replace it with like the billet aluminium one that I talked about, which looks really nice. And I suppose if you're going to do it super properly, then that'd be the ideal thing. But I think it's only made in America. You'd have to ship it over to the UK and wait for it and get customs charged and whatever. So the sort of good enough one is to use the steel part. But yeah, these 4 screws with washers on them, these 4 like sort of hold the heat shield in place. I just undid them, and that let the heat shield just sort of drop in place. Like I didn't move it out the way. I didn't like slide it up and down or like try to take it out. I just like dropped it, and like with it dropping was like just enough room to be able to like access the nut for that holds on the handbrake clip. So yeah, once that's down, you're basically like looking into this nut. The nut's actually captive with the washer, so similar to the heat shield ones. So all you need to do is just take that nut off. So what I did was that I got a 13mm ratcheting wrench. It's pretty easy to get to. I take that off. And then once it's off, this is what it looks like. Got the nut with the sort of what's it? The nut can spin, but it's captive with the washer, so it's kind of good. You don't have to sort of try and balance the washer up there upside down with the knot. There's just like one piece. Yeah, so the the part that I've got came in this little plastic bag, and then take it out plastic bag, and this is what it looks like. You can see them side by side. I wondered if it was going to be big enough for the washer to fit in, and it is big enough. You can see that it sits quite happily in place. And I was like, okay, just got to whack this up inside. I knew this was going to be fiddly, but yeah, I just tried to sort of like slide it up and like get it onto both these tubes for the handbrake cable. And yeah, I tried the rest. This was me trying to film it while also trying to do it with one hand. So I had holding my phone with one hand, lying out upside down underneath the car, and trying to put this on, and it was too hard to do with one hand. So yeah, so this is like cut to this, and this is where I managed to with 2 hands get it on, and this is me like just holding it in place with one hand, just to show you like, you know, once you have it on, you can see the stud screw coming down, and that's what you need to get the like captive nut back onto. And so with the captive nut, it's one of those things where I had just enough room to sort of like just get my fingers like this and just sort of wiggle it on just a tiny bit at a time, just trying to catch the thread on there, and also push up the bracket at the same time. Yeah, I pushed up the bracket so that it had enough thread to go on, and then it was just a case of going back with the ratcheting spanner, and then tightening it back up. And then once it goes back up, you can see there's quite a bit of thread there. Well, there's enough thread for it to go back on with, didn't have to do anything weird or use a different nut, or it was just the original nut back in place with the bracket on there, and then that's like fully holding the handbrake cable lines like back up in place where they should be, and then they can't drop down. They're never going to touch the prop shaft now, because they're held in place where they're supposed to be. So that's what you end up with. All I had to do was put the screws back onto the heat shield, and that was it. Job done. I took it out for a little test drive just to make sure that there was no scraping noises, and it had gone away. So even under sort of heavy acceleration, no more noise, no more scraping noise. So it was good success. How long did it take? Don't know. I would say maybe about an hour. That was a lot of it was because of the jacking up the car, just because I'd not done that before, so I was taking that quite slowly. The actual replacing the part was, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, something like that. It's pretty easy. So if you can lift your car, or you can jack it up really easily, put it on ramps, or you've got a lift, or you've got a jack that works nicely and is very easy to use, or you got the jack pads, and if you can do that all really easily, then you could do this, I don't know, you could do it in maybe like 10 minutes, like total, if you were very efficient with like lifting your car. But if you're like me and you've never done it before, then yeah, I expect it to take about an hour. It did help that it was a nice bright day today, so even without my phone used as a torch or flashlight, I was able to see pretty much where that knot was, even without any extra light. So I'd say, yeah, do it on a good daylight day. Don't do it on a sort of dark day. Don't do it at night, because you struggle unless you've got some sort of artificial light in your garage or workshop or whatever. But yeah, that's it. That's what I did. There wasn't a sort of decent enough video of this part being installed. I couldn't video the whole thing because it was just too hard. So I did as much as I could, and then yeah, hopefully this has been useful, and it's what you can do to yeah, fix your problem. You have no more handbrake scraping noise underneath your car, and it shouldn't return for the rest of the life of your car. Thank you. Okay, bye.